today we're going to talk about markers, okay? Because a lot of people ask, how do you do to blend markers so that it looks really nice and professional? Here we go. Now, when we use markers, we have to learn how to blend. But at the same time, we are not going to use all our markers, okay? We cannot use 10 markers just to make a nice shading. So we have to learn how to use markers in a wise way, which means I will use only 3 values, okay? And just to give you an example, I will take number 1, number 3, and then we're gonna use a number 8, okay? Number 8 if we have shadow. Just in case we don't have shadow or really dark reflections, we can jump from number 3 to number 5, which is this one, okay? So when we use markers, it's always better to start from the light value to go to the dark value, okay? So I will start with the number 1. So if I make a simple exercise, I put my number 1, okay? As you can see, at the end, I leave it white, because what we are trying to do is to make a shading from dark to white, okay? Then I will let it dry, and I will use again the number 1 to increase that value, okay? So I go on top, you see it gets darker, look at the difference. It's always the number 1, but when we create the second layer, you will see that it gets darker. So we have to take advantage of this property typical of markers, okay? Like that, you see? Okay, so now we can pass to the number 3. Okay, so we jump one number, we don't use number 2, and we use a number 3. So now with the number 3, I will do basically the same process. I'll just repeat it, okay? Like that. Now I let it dry, okay, last few seconds, and then I go again with the number 3 over, starting always from this area, and I make it a little bit darker, you see? Like that. So as you can see, we're already starting to get a sort of shading. Now I take number 5, which is gonna be darker than those, okay, to make the darkest spot. Now, I'm sure you ask yourself, yeah, but that's too dark compared to the other ones. Yeah, it's true. But we go back with the number 3 and we try to blend. You see? Then we go back with the number 1 and we complete that blending. Okay, so we can say that this is the shading done with markers, okay? We can use our number 5 just to make this part a little bit darker, okay? Like that. You see? Okay, so this is a typical classical shading. But what's going to happen when we're going to do this on the side view, on a perspective of a car? For example, on perspective. So let's see. So if I have a side view, I'll make it very quick, okay? That's my belt line. This is, I would say, the start of my hood, okay, for my front. And then here we can imagine the back part, like, I don't know, like this, okay? All right? So if I do that, I have my wheel well, my wheels, perspective. This is 1 point perspective, side view. Shadow on the ground, okay? So here, let's say that we get a pool of light, okay? So we're gonna make something simple, just to give you the idea of how you can do that, okay? All right, so here we will have a light catcher section, and then here we have this is a cylinder, okay? So we have the classical okay. So now we have all our lines, right? So the first thing I will do this time, I will take the number 8, because with the number 8 we're gonna make all the dark part, okay? So all what is in shadow, cast shadow, and dark tire color. Okay, so let's do it. I always draw the wheel well. I know that a lot of people don't do the wheel well, but believe me, it gives you the right proportion of your car. Then we do underneath, okay? Okay, so we have our shadow. Now, you have to remember that the technique that we used here in making that shading, using the same color twice, making 2 layers, and then, putting all those so that we can blend the markers. We're gonna reproduce it, exactly the same technique, on the side view of this car where we have the reflection and also the shadow. For example, this part here, this one here, this one inside here, they are really very, very dark because there is no light going inside there. So we have to make those dark. I use still number 8. And we make those dark. Look. You see, I pass over 3-4 times. Same thing here. Now you can see that there is a difference here. This is lighter, this is very dark, so you have a feeling that this is the tire, the rubber part. Then also here we have to go really dark. There we can't see anything, it's just shadow. And also the wheels on the other side in perspective, which is this one. And a line there, so that's very far. But here in the front, I leave it a little bit lighter. Can you see? Show you. A little bit lighter, because that part it's more up to the front, and it gets a little bit of light coming from the front here, from the top. A little bit there. A little bit there. There you go. And now you have a feeling also of depth. It looks like the perspective plus those 2 tone values, they give you a really depth, feeling, which is exactly what we want. Now let's take care of the reflection. So I go with the number 1. And basically I put it all over my reflection, okay, like that. Here I leave a little bit of white, just a little. Then I put it down here and here. Don't worry for the pen a little bit smearing, it's okay, no big deal. So now I let it dry. I can still see it's a little bit wet there, so I wait. Now that it's dry, I do the same thing we did here, but the cylinder this time it's in horizontal, okay? So dark, light. So dark, dark, I mean darker, okay, so now you already have the two values. You can see that there is a sort of a lighter area in the center. It's still wet, can you see? It's still wet. Okay, it's gonna dry. So I am making basically this area a little bit lighter. Why? Because the body of the car in this area, it's coming a little bit outside, you know? So it's picking up the light. And in order to make that evident, I have to put one side darker, the other side will be lighter. Then here I left a little bit of white, because if it's coming out, it's picking up a little bit of light on top. You know, because the section. Okay, so now I take the number 3. So let me see which is the right part, is this one. Okay, so and as you can see, I go only on top. I don't go down. Not much, really. Okay, we can put a little bit on the hood, of course. You see, now you have a better feeling of this blending, of this shading. And as you can see, I didn't do anything here. I just leave it white. Now I let it dry. And I go again on top. And I always go from left to right. I touch here and then I let it go, you see? So I can control the strokes. I can see, you know, how much they are, where is dark. If I need to make some areas a little bit darker, I can always go there, like here, you see? A little bit there, a little bit there, down here, and also a little bit here. Okay, so now you see here, we have a feeling that the light is hitting, you know, that the body is coming out. So what I will do, I will just take the number 1 again, because I want to blend a little bit in this area. This is too light now. So I go from here and I just add a little bit. I add a little bit there too, just a little. Okay, now it's better. This area, there is a better integration between the sections. Now I take the number 5 and I will make the dark part, the darkest area, first of all down here. You see? A little bit down here. Then I go here, okay, and I do few reflections, you know, those things that I really like a lot to make on my sketches. But the problem is that we cannot leave those two lines just like that, because if we do, it looks like a stripe, like a sticker. So we have to blend it. And that's why I go back with the number 3, now that it's dry, and I try to blend. So I make a little bit darker there, and a little bit underneath, you see? So that it's less strong. Here too. You see, now it's less strong. So now you have a feeling of that shading, you know, that blending. And that's exactly what I want to show you. All right? So in perspective, it's the same thing. Because if I have a, I don't know, if I have a fender, let me make a quick sketch of a semi-top view 3/4 front of this car, okay? Okay. So I have my reflection here, then the other one is gonna be there. Then here I have my light catcher. Oops, I have one more space of shadow. Okay, so let's quickly put the values. So I go with my number 1, and I do the same thing I did before. This time here, you can see how I make my lines to make sure that I can show better what's happening in this area. Then we have a reflection there too, a reflection here, okay? So now I take my number 3, then I take my number 5, So I go back with my number 3 to blend a little bit here, just as I did here. Okay, I hope that this video was useful to you to show you how I blend, how I change, how I use my markers. And in the future videos I will show you something that will be less sketchy like this one, but it will be more precise, okay? So that you can have a more clear idea. Let's put a little bit of light here because it looks like there is a car that has no eyes. All right. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, bye bye.